New reaction to President Trump's calls for judges who rule against him to be impeached. So a handful of members of the judiciary, they are pushing back, including Chief Justice John Roberts, even as Elon Musk offers cash to voters who join the effort. Meanwhile, federal judges hearing cases against the administration dealt numerous blows to Trump's agenda this week. Former federal prosecutor Barrett Berger is back with me. So, Barrett, first question, is there any legal basis for impeaching a judge based on a judge's ruling?
No.
Okay.
So impeachment is a remedy for really severe situations. We're talking corruption, illegal activity. This is something that's been used in only a very small handful of cases throughout our nation's history. It is absolutely not the recourse for a judge's decision that you disagree with.
Okay, so flat out there's that.
Correct.
The unusual intervention, though, from Chief Justice Roberts, it did nothing, it seems, to subdue, to quell Trump's ire, right? How close does this kind of a standoff put us to a constitutional crisis? At what point does it officially become a crisis?
So answer your second question first. I think it becomes a constitutional crisis where you have the administration openly defying court orders in a way that simply can't be resolved, right? Then I think we're getting closer to this constitutional crisis. I think Justice Roberts' statement was important, even though it hasn't made the administration back off their attacks. Number one, it's very important for the public to hear this, right? To know the highest court in the land is telling the public, educating them about what the proper process is here, too. Two, it's really important for the highest court in the land to give their support to other federal judges who are issuing this to say, essentially, we've got your back. We understand how the process is supposed to work. Your safety is important, and that's of critical importance to federal judges around the country right now.
Given things that have been happening, the threats against them.
Exactly. And even though it hasn't deterred the administration at this point, Justice Roberts is saying very clearly, it may come to a point where you are coming before the highest court in the land. You need to know that this is how we stand.
Got it. There's a judge this week that ruled that the dismantling of USAID was unconstitutional. Then there was another judge that stopped the DOJ team from having unbridled access to Social Security and private data there. Then the other judge blocked the Trump administration from banning transgender people from the military service. Of all of these, which would you think poses the greatest danger from a constitutional standpoint?
So my answer is, I think it is the collection of all of these decisions, right?
The volume?
The volume, exactly right. So what you're seeing now is not any one individual judge being the one to sort of save the democracy here, but it's the pattern of judges in different suits with different subject matter, with different plaintiffs being willing to say process matters. Now, for most of the opinions that have been issued so far, they're not really getting to the ultimate legal issue. They're not reaching the constitutionality of some of these decisions. They're saying the way the administration has gone about taking these actions was flawed. They didn't follow the proper process. For some, as we were talking about in your earlier segment, they didn't go through the steps needed for due process for deporting people. So I think it's, these judges are really saying how you make administrative actions is as important as whether you ultimately have the authority to do so.
How many of these do you think are going to make it to the Supreme Court? Is there one case in your mind that you think this one's destined for it?
Well, I think with birthright citizenship, that will certainly end up, there's no way that can be resolved but for the Supreme Court weighing in here. I don't know. I think it will be a matter of how fast the courts move. So far you've really just had district courts making their determinations. We have to go up to the Court of Appeals then. I do think things are going to be moving relatively quickly because these are all important issues that, need to get resolved in the next few months in order for the administration to be able to do what they came here to do.
It has been suggested that the Supreme Court is going to pick and choose very carefully the cases they want to take on because they don't want to risk not putting forth a ruling that Donald Trump could just overtly disregard. Because then that undermines their jurisdiction, their authority, everything about it. They don't have an army to go out, a police force to go out and enforce what they rule on. Does that make sense to you?
That's exactly right. And I think we're seeing that not only from the Supreme Court, but we're seeing it from the lower courts, too. I think that's why you have judges like Judge Boasberg treading very carefully here. Nobody wants to push us unnecessarily into a situation where there is a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court particularly so. And I think
that would define one.
That would 100% define one. If you had the administration defying something that the Supreme Court said, that is the definition of a constitutional crisis. Again, they are two co-equal branches that have equal power. The executive branch, no more important than the judicial branch. So that would set us up. So I think they are going to go carefully through this. I think they also want to choose perhaps one case that will present a constitutional question that could answer a number of these cases, right? If they can make one decision instead of 5, that's
have it apply. Okay.
Correct.
Barrett Brugger, we're going to see you again. Thank you
Great.
much.